Hi, good morning everyone. This is Lokesh from Delhi studio. Welcome to day 3 of Google App Engine. I hope, good morning everybody. So, hey, good morning everybody. Yeah, hi from Borivali and NS33 and Adyar, Coimbatore. Great, good morning. It's a very cold morning in Delhi today, almost cloudy. So we are into cloud computing, and this weather is also very cloudy. So that's a very nice thing. So generally I have started it. Right now I'm just waiting for more people to log in, and I'm not starting anything immediately. I'm just letting people to log in right now. People are logging in, 10 are there, so more will be joining in, I think. But anyways, I'll take this 5-10 minutes to say hello to you guys. Just wanted to know how many of you have reached, been able to touch Google App Engine. So if you can just send me your messages. So your Borivali got deployed. Great. So you touched Google App Engine finally. Actually, I've also requested your this thing. Borivali finally, my wife is able to touch. Okay. Till yesterday, very good. CP also has done. CP is doing good. Mahendra, I think. Jayanagar. Yeah, very good. Good. Jayanagar. Excellent. Okay. I'm happy to see that. So finally we are able to touch the engine. It's a big engine actually. And now we are closer to it. That's good. Okay, great. Coimbatore has also reached. Excellent, Sangeeta. I'm very happy to see that engine has started to come on. Engine has started to work. Great. RG. Rajori had actually, yesterday done, no? Jyoti had already done yesterday, I think. Yeah, I think you said you had done. Very good. Excellent. I have good, I can see more centers who are able to start the engine or maybe touch the engine and say hello. That's good news, because that's the hard part, to start an engine. Once it's started, probably we can keep it going. So that's good part. I'm very excited to see that. Very good. So now I can see that you guys can touch Google App Engine, and so finally your application would have got deployed on a VM on Google Cloud. That's a great thing. So good. So your I wanted to know again. Should be nothing in sound. So can you just Coimbatore has reached. Can you just retype your places? RG Rajori has reached name and place where you are able to reach Google App Engine. First, let's take positive things. Where you have been able to reach, just tell me your name and the location. This is Anuradha in Bangalore. Excellent. Okay. Vishnu in Borivali. Sangeeta in Coimbatore. Swapna from Ghatkopar, Mumbai. Jyoti in Rajouri Garden. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody else has been able to touch? Anuradha, Vishnu, Sangeeta, Sapna, Jyoti. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names right now who have been able to touch. Okay, CP, Maninda, yeah, CP. Yeah, Maninda was the first one I think remembered yesterday she told me about. Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 locations and 6 people. Okay, great. Okay. Uh, that's better than yesterday. Okay, good. So, okay, now let's look at the other things. People who are still struggling. Okay, there is NH33 also. Cartesian. Chennai, right? Okay, finally, engine has come to India in a couple of cities. I'm sure there are some cities which still not reached. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Delhi. This is Delhi. Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Coimbatore, Mumbai, Bangalore has reached. Calcutta is missing, yes. Calcutta. And there is some old Hyderabad. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look at, I'll just remove this or leave it. So people who have not been able to touch to Google App Engine, still struggling with the engine starting troubles. Please let me know your name and center. Leave it. There's a limit. No. Leave it. So who all are still struggling to say hello to Google App Engine and have not been able to do that. We're still working on getting Eclipse to connect to Google App Engine. Which centers are still pending? Jyoti Mittal. Okay, she wants the data files on my Gmail. I do not send. Okay, no problem. Okay, let me do that right away, Jyoti. If I have your Gmail ID, I would have sent it, but so let me see. Okay, this is NIT Jyoti Mittal. Just check your mail, Jyoti. You should just check your Gmail. Okay, Jyoti should. Okay. Now, Debashri. Can I have Debashri online? I can just click on Debashri. What happened, Debashri? Good morning, Debashri. Good morning, Devashri. You're Calcutta, right? No. Devashri? Devashri is Adya. It is Chennai. Okay. So, Devashri, what happened? I didn't get your message. I couldn't understand. Good morning. Okay. And the day before you had done that. First day you had. Okay. First day we had done hello, the web. Web. What web? What does that web mean? Yeah, but then what I need you to do is ask your coordinator, your technical guy, to check the networking, firewall blocking, or network issue. Okay, so that you are able to connect. Okay. But anyway, Devashri, if you missed yesterday, then you'll need to read a lot of things, and maybe they have some implications today. I don't know what to do. Okay, so great. Okay, so I was still wondering, Devashri has issues of connectivity, which errors you missed yesterday. Right. Yeah, so who else have still to touch Google App Engine, in the sense, say hello to it, and these are the good news. I got a lot of it today. And I'm sure the struggle was worth it, or is going to be worth it, because you're getting a server for free to host your applications. So now coming to the people who are still struggling with reaching Google Cloud, who all are there apart from Devashri? Apart from Devashri, who all are struggling to reach Google App Engine? What about K. Tija and Namrita R? Namrita R, I don't remember this name. Yesterday. Anjali. What about Anjali? You went Anjali? Anjali, you said yesterday, no? Rajori or something? Or no, maybe I'm wrong. Anjali, you should have said yes, no? Anjali has done it? Anjali? Right. Tell me that, no, Anjali? Okay, Jyoti and Anjali. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what about more people at NH33? NH33, Cartesian is saying yes, but I can see there are more people in NH33. Or am I mistaken? Cartesian and Cartesian NH33 Chennai. So you're saying yesterday you have done. What about other people who are in NH33 center? I can see more people are there. NH33, yeah. There is K33 and Nimrit Meamit. Cartesian, you know about it then? Okay, so Nimrit R have done. Niyamat R. And one is remaining, that is K33. K33, were you able to connect? So, I think this is Bombay, Bangalore, Coimbatore, Mumbai again. So I have some more centers like Hyderabad or Calcutta. I don't think the app engine reached Calcutta and Hyderabad. Anybody from Hyderabad and Calcutta? I think these two locations people are not there, or I don't have the status. And for the status of K3 Chitta, I don't know. No status. Okay. And what about anybody from Bandra? Somebody said Bandra. Who's in Bandra? Ghatkopar, Borivali. What about Bandra? Who's logged in from Bandra? Rajendra. Rajendra, were you able to connect to Google? Yes. Good. Okay. Good. So I'm very happy to hear that today things are better than yesterday, and so that we can continue with this further discussion of the engine. Like we opened it, or you just managed to open it. Some people managed to open it faster than the others, but now that you have managed to open it, let's go deep dive into it and see what is inside it. And that's what I want to do today. If everything works out, you can see more insides of it. Okay. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think there are more people, but I have got status of very less people. Okay. So, K33. So I will just repeat the status and tell me if I have missed your name and I don't know the status. Okay. So please respond to this. Anuradha from Bangalore is able to deploy. Vishnu from Borivali is able to deploy. Sangeeta from Coimbatore is able to deploy. Sapna from Ghatkopar, Mumbai is able to deploy. Jyoti from RG is able to deploy. Anjali from RG is able to deploy. Maninder from CP is able to deploy. Cartesian from NH33 is able to deploy. Niyamat R. From where are you from? NH33 is able to deploy. Devshi is not able to deploy. K33, I don't have status. Rajendra is able to deploy. Rajendra is in Bandra, I think. Okay, and oh, Mangalore has come. Arya Fernandez. Uh, Mangalore. Were you able to connect Arya Fernandez to Google App Engine finally, or we are still struggling with the basics of connectivity? Were you able to connect Arya Fernandez to the server? Arya Fernandez, Bangalore. Bangalore. Arya Fernandez. Jyoti Nasi Mittal. What is this Delhi NP? This is the studio. Huh? And these two are also Delhi studio. Three are there. This is Mumbai studio. Normal, like nobody's just studio. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are these? Are studio or this is students? Students. Okay. So from Mangalore, I have only got Arya Fernandez, Chaya from Mumbai. Good morning, Chaya. Were you able to connect to Google App Engine, Chaya? Chaya? Okay. Very good. Very, very good. So Chaya was able to deploy. Great. I am so impressed, yeah. Should have happened on the day 1, but day 2 at least you struggled and managed to do it. So, okay. So, yeah, you know, one more important thing. What was it that was problematic, which you managed to solve and were able to deploy now? What is it, like people who was on day 1 not able to deploy, what is it that you were stuck with and now are able to deploy? Okay, Bandra is SDK 8, okay. SDK 8. In Jayanagar, firewall was on. Right, Ananya says that, okay. So what else was the issue? I mean, I'm sure there was a couple of struggles which are happening, you deploying, not happening. What was the problem? I got a problem in compiler. What was the problem, Jyoti? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what were the main causes of not being able to deploy initially. I know just 4 or 5 people were able to deploy. One was in 3P, Rajouri, and NH33, Kartisi. So, I'm just trying to ask, what were the other problems which you guys faced in connecting? Okay, it was giving problem with JDK 1.8 and you changed it to 1.7. Internet blocks in browser. Okay, Coimbatore had blocks. Internet blocking. I'm just saying this so that everybody understands what's happening. Okay. So remaining people also, please let me know. No, what was the issue? Issue in connectivity. What was the problem? Somebody said compiler was the issue. The JDK was problem. Okay. Okay. So now you are able to deploy. Great. Okay. So JDK 1.8 is not supported. Needs to change to 1.7. This is Bandra. Okay. Again, Bandra is saying this. And this is Aruzori also saying this. Okay. So internet firewalls blocking in was this in your system firewall or this was network firewall? This was some browser firewall. Internet blocking in browser. No, but okay. In the initial part, I had told some names, so people should be monitoring this. Should note this down, observations, because I mean I had said this so that when we actually doing it. So so I'm just taking out the mail which Narendra had asked me to announce in the beginning that you are monitoring this for deployment purposes. Names. Okay. So Manjunath is there. I have my doubt. P. Manjunath. Anjali Singhal is there, definitely. Rajori Khan, I think. Right? And Bhuvneshwar, I don't think is there. And Cartesian, you have to be noting down the network requirement or issues which may come up. You're observing the bandwidth being consumed. Actually, it was only the first time when you're deploying it. It'll do it, download a lot of patches and a lot of things. If you keep on using the same App Engine version, next time it will not do it. And Naveen Goel, I don't think he is there. So I just can see Anjali Singhal, Cartesian. Anybody called Hiti or Manjunath? I don't think so either. So say this that Anjali is there. Yeah, right. So you have to just observe your network bandwidth usage, blocks, firewalls, and Cartesian is there, right? Cartesian. Cartesian is there, yes. Say yes. So you are also responsible for, right? So you two guys are anyways observing the bandwidth utilization. So you will be putting a kind of a report on whatever bandwidth you are there using. I'll just ask if anybody else. In fact, everybody should do it for their centers. Whoever signed is being asked. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll just clear this comment. So now again, let's poll and let's poll it and say, apart from, I mean, okay, everybody polls plus for being able to connect to Google App Engine and minus for not being able to connect to Google App Engine, so that I know where we are. Very good, 35% is good. And definitely one I know. There has to be some no's also, no? Why are you not saying no? There are some no's who are not connected. So please say no if you are not connected. I won't say anything. So mainly firewalls and SDK 8, which is changed, downgraded to 1.7, because App Engine is very choosy. So then we'll stay with 1.7 when you are using App Engine. Yeah, so majority of you said yes now, but I still think there are people who joined late. What I've been asking everybody is to tell me about the status of being able to connect to Google App Engine. Audio Fernandez, I don't have your status. Bangalore. K. Haritija, I don't have your status. 1, 2, I don't have your status. Is it yes, no? Maybe you just have to say one of them. Yes or no? Audio Fernandez and K. Haritija. Plus, there were more people yesterday who have joined in late, I know. Chaya has said yes. But what about anybody from Calcutta or Hyderabad? There was some Pan Bazaar center or something. Who is this? Because of low speed internet in the area. Okay, who is this telling me about this low internet speed? I know. Are your friends? Okay, so you are not being able to connect. Is that the question answer? Because of the network speed? Yes, I have completed my task. So Bangalore is not able to connect. Okay, so Bangalore speed of network is the issue, and you should always check for your firewall, and JDK version 7 should be there and should be open, and a dedicated connection which is faster. So maybe you're having some network speed issues which you're telling me. So what about this? I want to talk to Ttt. Who's this? Status speed, yes, no. Could not hear you. Yeah, no. I'm been asking everybody to tell me the status of are you able to connect to Google App Engine. So say yes, and if you have been able to, or no if you have not been able to. I don't have the status of your being able to connect. Okay, so that is good. That is all I was asking. Okay, wait a minute. So, okay, this is a group of around 20 people. 20 is what I'm talking about, where people are from all over India. I think there's some still missing. Okay, because still not everybody is online, I guess. Three, one, two. Please, there are some people missing. 3 people are missing. 17 are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Still I've got status of 14 people. Still there are some 3 people who have not told me the status, who are online. Which is very interesting. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you have told me your status. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 14. But there are more people logged in. Here is Pan Bazaar. Wait a minute. This is Hyderabad, right? Pan Bazaar Center. Well, there's some other place. Where is this? So one person has just come in and asked me a question. If there is an error found like localhost 88 is already in use while running the browser, what needs to be done?
It's Guwahati.
Guwahati. Okay. you guys, other guys also listen to this. This is important. I've also faced this. Sometimes in Eclipse, what happens? You run a application and it is already running in the browser. It's saying, for like Docolo is already in use and running in browser. Like Docolo 888 already. Okay, it may be that some other application is already using that port 888 or 8080. It could be that there is something which is running in the background which is running it, or maybe you have run it twice. Maybe you have run it once, it is running in the background of Eclipse, and you have run it again. Something like that can be problematic. So what happens is that I have also faced this with 8080, not 888, that the application is not closed when I run in Eclipse, and then when I try to run it again, it says that port is already in use in Eclipse when I run it again, because the previous application has not terminated. So maybe just terminate your Eclipse, and if you are still very unsure, restart your system, and then first attempt, then try to run this application. If still it is not working, that means there is something running at startup of your system which has blocked port 8888, is what I can think of. Okay, so I think Guwahati is still struggling with able to connect. I've got 15 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. So out of 15 and 3 are not connecting, 12 are connecting, which is a good number, but I am just wanting and wishing 3 others also connect. Okay, Anuradha, Vishnu, Sangeeta, Sapna. Who is in this? K. Hazare. K. Hazare, have you told me your status? K. Hazare. Still have 2 more people who have not told me the status. 2 people have still not told me the status. Okay, I'll do one thing. I will say names. If you are there and your name is there, fine. If it is not there, let me know your status. Anuradha, Vishnu, Sangeeta, Sapna, Jyoti, Anjali, Maninder, Karthisian, Devashri, Niyamat, K. Taritija, Rajendra, Arya Fernandez, Chaya, and Guwahati, some KK. And if your name is not in this list, you are not present for me right now. But I have 15 people present. Who else is there online? I'm sure there are more. Yeah, who is this? Where are you from, K. Hazara? Kolkata, that's what I was waiting. Kolkata. Amitabha, is it? Is this Amitabha from Calcutta or somebody else? Amitabha. Were you able to touch Google App Engine, Amitabh? Yes, no? Calcutta? Yes, very good. Okay, so I have got 16 names, which makes it good. Over, so 16 is good number. Status of 16 people. KK from Guwahati, you are still struggling with local host. Okay, why don't you just try to deploy it? Cancel this 80 localhost thing. Try to deploy it directly on Google App Engine. Are you able to do that, or is it some other issue? Okay. So I have connected to App Engine in Guwahati. You're saying, but you're not able to deploy. But on the server, you're able to deploy. Very good. That's another status. Okay. That is good. And Calcutta is also able to do it. Very good. Very good. Now there's one more person. I don't know who is there. But anyways, you are not telling me then. I think this is the one. Ttt Govinda. Who is this? BSSR Shahid Nagar. Who is logged in from BBSR Shahid Nagar? Who is this? Ttt Govinda. Who is this Ttt Govinda? I don't remember this name ever. Is it first time you are coming? BBSR Shahid Nagar. Who is this? Who is this guy? Ttt Govinda. It's not the name I remember. BBSR Shahid Nagar. If you are here by mistake, then you will not understand anything. Because people who have been here are struggling. But that's okay. It's okay. So, till now, we have had our struggles. And so how was it? Who is this? You can figure out? No. Who is this guy? We don't know. Wait, stay with 1.7 right now. Don't go with 1.8. Okay, let me just ask, okay, so let's continue with our session now. I wanted to get the status up because I was worried if I continue with my next demo and you are still struggling with your previous demos, previous tasks, then chances are that you will not understand. But I am happy to see that apart from 1, 2, that is Devashri, Arya Fernandez, and KK probably is able to deploy on the app engine, but not on local because of something. 1, 2. So apart from these two guys, others are okay to go. Great, good. So for Arya Fernandez, your network speed is an issue, and Debashri, you also need to spend some time to do it. Okay. So let's recap from day one till now, and then we'll continue ahead. Okay, great. So we can then continue, because otherwise I would have asked you to call your network support guy and help you out with troubleshoot in whatever, and then we could have continued. But anyways, it's good that at least you're able to see this technology now in your local things. Arya Fernandez and Debashri, I think, the two people who are not able to connect and see the technology, and KK from Guwahati is having some problem on local deployment. That's about it, I think. Okay, so till now, how was this technology sound to you? It's done now. Anjana from Anjana, what is done now? What happened? What? Some good news has come from Guwahati. Guwahati is saying it is done. Local also deployed, I think. Good. Yeah, very good. Local was 888 deployed. Great. Guwahati is also on track. Great. So now two people are left, Debashri and Arya Fernandez. You guys need to do something about rest of the 15, 16 people are now online as per what you have told me. So great. So should we continue? Yes, no, plus, minus, and see some more features of this engine. Let's go deep into this engine today. And I told you that maybe we'll go ahead till 5:30 today. So it's okay that I'm taking this status now, and so Borivali is saying, sir, I created a Maven project in Eclipse. Does it take time to import from engine? Engine? Is it showing some kind of compilation time? It's downloading something. First time it will do that. Then next time onward it will pick up from the local cache. Great, let it download. No problem. So okay, this engine which is there is a powerful engine. and it's slightly different than your normal way we have been brought up to understand how things work. So it's a sandbox environment. Sandbox environment means it's a closed compartment. Every one of you is getting a small region to work in the Google server environment. Okay. So first of all, what we saw on day one was how to just create a new project and deploy a Hello application. And that itself has taken like 2 days for you guys. So that is the initial struggle to get your system and network configuration right to be able to talk to Google servers. Now we will start to go and explore the engine a bit more. Today we'll go and see more features of this engine, and we will see how we can use it more. And I just want to again ask you guys, why should we study this Google App Engine? Why should we study this Google App Engine? That's a question which generally everybody asks. Why am I doing what I'm doing? So why should I study about this technology? Yes, please, let me have your responses. From Mangalore, I think it says to embrace present cloud technology. That's all. Any other views? Why we are studying Google App Engine? Or why the let's say a car or a thing, yeah, will work, and we need to think of it that in future how much of it will be used. So definitely, thank you Mumbai for scaling up of application automatically, and so no servers required at our end. Cloud computing platform to develop and host our application in Google data centers. Right. So also think of it from Dandra says the hosting is very easy and faster. Very good. So still this struggle thing, is it okay we struggle for this getting the system right? So as I was saying, this technology is just interesting because it allows me to have a platform to experiment a little bit right now, till the time Google doesn't block this free access, at least that time. And I don't think they will do that immediately, because it takes a bit of time to understand this, time to able to use it. Somebody is saying that he has used cPanel, WordPress, dashboard also. I use Joomla, but this one I can say very, very easy. Excellent. Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm happy to see that your past experience in Bandra, you have used some other servers, and your other servers are also having some kind of controls, but I'm sure you will also find this interesting and easy to use. And there are, of course, certain differences which we'll come to today. And when we are using or creating applications for larger scale, which we'll see when we are doing it for a big data application. We have heard this term in the beginning, first day somebody asking big data. So we will study about this big data thing in the afternoon. And so you guys were, we have come to start using like Java and MySQL or SQL or database backends, and then deployed it like Banda is telling me about installing or putting in an application on servers. But this is a different approach to development. So that scaling is also thought of right in the beginning and not later on once your application is ready. So there are certain constraints which Google has already identified and tried to provide us with an environment which is helping a kind of application development which will scale as per the demand. So there were some case studies which I studied or read about that they developed some application, and suddenly there was so much of hits that people, even Google App Engine was able to easily scale up. A question has come: can we deploy ASP.NET projects on App Engine? Anybody wants to answer this? From Jayanagar, this question has come. Can we deploy ASP.NET projects on Google App Engine? Anybody would like to answer this? Can we deploy ASP.NET projects on App Engine? And the answer comes from NH33, which is the right answer, that it supports currently Java, PHP, Python and Go. I think Python is also there. So if I'm saying that it supports Java, Python, PHP and Go languages, 4 languages, so where does this .NET comes in? No, it doesn't. It will not support it. So it is not, your application will not go. So these are the 3-4 languages currently being supported, and on the web, these are the popular languages. Python is very popular but slightly cryptic. PHP is most popular. Java is also very popular. Go is a Google own proprietary language, so not that popular. But people are developing applications using PHP and Java on web, and Python for people who are more into scripting. They are doing it. So Java .NET is going to be Microsoft technology and Microsoft servers, and these are all going to be Linux based or some other Linux variant servers running in the backend, or a VM running Linux kind of a thing. And in Linux environment, Java, Python, PHP are the languages that are popular and used. So that is what will work. So let me talk about the next part which we did yesterday. We were talking about APIs, application programming interface. So yeah, first example people have told me they are able to do. I'll just clear this. So what about yesterday's assignments? How many of you have been able to do plus and minus yesterday's tasks you have been able to do? How many of you have been able to do yesterday's API exercises or activities? So people are still behind, I can see. So we have just managed to touch. Okay, so you have just done a Hello World application right now. Okay. So today practice the other part in the evening. I hope you understand in the training week it's not that just some time we are here. Just try out afterwards also. Try to do these exercises or activities. And there are solutions also present in the data files for faculty folder. I want to, before I start with the class, I want to know everybody has the path or access to the data files for faculty. Anybody who doesn't have the mail from me, which is to Google Drive. I know this Google Drive is also something new to some of you. So I've just uploaded a lot of things, data files for faculty currently. So all of you, 18 I remember, 18 is 19 names. One or two may who have not told me yesterday, your Gmail ID would not have got it. Yesterday I had taken attendance by asking you to send me a Gmail. And some of you had not sent me because of some reason. So again today morning I am saying that in case you have not sent me a mail on my Gmail account, which is Debashri, one which is there, debashri28gmail.com. So Debashri, don't send me message over here. Send me a mail through your Gmail to nitgae3@gmail.com. Send me a test mail with your name and your center to nitgae3@gmail.com, and I will send you the link to access the data files for faculty. Okay. So what we did was yesterday something to do with endpoints, and we created certain endpoints and we were connecting to it. Today we will do something called as authorization, OAuth related concepts, and a little bit of database concepts. We will try to put some data in Google, and we will also try to see how we can authenticate ourselves using Google. Google itself, some of you have been getting that allow. Okay, this message, Debashri is getting a kind of a blank screen when she clicks on the allow button. I remember that error. But this error was coming to other people also, which I never got. But if somebody else also got, and I'm sure they would have got it, how was that resolved? Maria is there? No, Maria is not there. Firewall and proxy should be off. Okay, so she needs to disable proxy. Okay, Debashri, the answer to your question, because you are also struggling and others are also struggling, and the answer, two things you need to check. One is firewall and proxy of your network has to be clear. If proxy can be either on your system or on the network, so from where you're going out. So if there is a blockage on your system or on the network, it has to be removed, or you need to disable proxy settings and set it so that you can directly access the network without any proxy server. Probably proxy server is blocking or something. It could be that proxy server has got some blocks. So you need to figure out with your local network guy where this block is happening. That's why it was not working. Thank you for your feedback and telling me that it is firewall related problem, proxy or stable proxy. So now you guys, thank you so much for helping me with debugging, and with your struggles you have learned something. Great. So let's continue with some more concepts. Where were we yesterday? Were we here or not? Yeah. We were here, I think. Yesterday we saw this application actually. And its data files or its steps are there in your lab guide. And you can try it out and it works exactly as I had shown you. We will continue from here. And we will look at the authentication mechanism of Google now. Just like whenever Google wants you to log in, similarly our applications can also use Google's authentication methods to connect to a system. So access control refers to a mechanism in which users are granted access and certain privileges to system. In access control system, users must provide credentials before they can be granted access. You all know that. So there is something called as username and password, and that is required. An access control has following components. It is the process of identifying an individual, usually based on username and password. So all of you have got Gmail ID and passwords, or even NIT IDs and passwords. So that is used to authenticate you whether you are allowed to log in or not. Similarly, authorization is another concept. It's a process used to verify that the individual who has requested or initiated an action has the rights to do that. So authentication and authorization. These are two concepts which we mix together. We mix together by saying that, okay, if I have username and password, then I have got authorization also, which is true. But actually authorization is a subset of authentication or a different part of authentication. It's like saying that you are authorized to do something, but you don't really have the full control, which is through the username and password. And that's what a dialog box generally comes to say, that do you want to authorize this application to view this particular information. So you're giving authorization to that application that yes, you can view my contacts or something. This happens in Android also. So whenever you are installing any particular application, it asks whether you are going to allow it to access such and such information. So something similar, when you are clicking on that allow or deny box, whenever a pop-up comes on your screen, and you click on that allow or deny box, so you are giving an authorization to the application to be able to do that particular task, which is slightly different than authentication, because in authentication you are giving a username and password in a form and clicking the submit button. So there are two concepts of authorization and authentication. So one is for App Engine, you can have authentication options which are, you can even have custom code which you create, or there are built-in options where you can use the Google account or Google Apps account or OAuth 2 protocol. So using these three methods which are there, you can using Google accounts, Google App account. Google App is basically your account where you can use Google Word or Google Excel online. So there are Google apps are there. So using that account, you can also, that's a paid account. Or there is a separate OAuth 2 protocol which you can use, or you can use Google account itself for authenticating your application. That means your application is being allowed to do a particular task and it is authenticated by Google using your Gmail account. I will just come to what exactly this difference is. So before that, there are some classes of Java which you can see over here. So we can integrate Google user account, which is your username and password of Google, to your Google App Engine Java application. To do that, there is a com.google.appengine.api.user package to integrate Google user account with Java application. So you will be importing this package. It provides methods to check user authentication and retrieve emails. So some of the common interfaces and classes this provides is user service factory and user service and user. So these are the interfaces and classes inside this package. Using this, you can check or you can authenticate. So what do? Is we have this small code which I'll try to walk you through. The following code illustrates how you can use the user factory and user class and the user service interface to authenticate user in Java application. So first of all, you create the object of user service and set it to this user service factory. Get user service method. And another object you create is user of a user class. And you assign it to the value get current user. So now if this function get current user is null, that means you are not logged in. If it is not null, that means you are already logged in. It will say welcome and the name of the person. So it will say welcome so and so by picking up the value by saying get username, nickname. So it's a facility which is already provided by Java, Google APIs, so that something similar which happens when we are compiling and executing your application that allow or deny kind of a box comes, something similar can be done for your application also. Your application will run. It will ask Google Gmail account and password for you to verify that you are the person you are, and then it will also check and ask you whether you want to allow access to this particular application, and if you grant the access, then application will work. So that is another benefit. You can say that instead of you writing the complete code, you can use the APIs provided by Java for authorization. So let's look at a small demo and that will make it more clear. You're working as web developer at Microsoft. You have been assigned a task to create a Google App Engine Java application that greets a user who has assigned into app with a personalized message and display a link to sign on. However, if the user is not signed in, the app offers a link to the sign-in page of Google account. Okay, so the Google App Engine Java application should be based on the following guidelines. User Service Factory class is there, and it also has a user service. So you can use these two classes. Create a Java servlet to display a welcome message in a web page. Okay. So this is the expected output, or this is what will happen when I'm going to compile and run this application. The web page should display the following greeting message when running the web page on the local development server. So you will get integrated with Google user account, welcome, test@example.com, and when you click on logout, it will log out. The web page should display following greeting message when running on Google App Engine. So again the same message and log out. But here the example is the actual email address is there. So okay, first let me show you this and then we'll continue with the remaining part. So I'll just show you a small demo on my system. This is activity 5.1. Okay, so what we need to do? Okay, here Okay, so first of all, it's asking me to go to Google Cloud Developer Console and create a new application. Let me create a new project. It seems to have stopped after 12. So okay, what I'll do is I'll use this one. There is a project called Blacklist or something with the project ID 8132 Blacklist. So assume that I've already created this project. First step. So next it says create new web application project. So here you type login demo. Package you say form.example. And here disable this, use this. '31 is the latest one, we'll use that. And use app ID. App ID will be this one. So this is the creation of the application. So this application is created over here. So in this, locate this login demo servlet. This is the first application which we had created, Hello World. and it's asking me to add certain import statements, which is for user service factory. So in this user factory are classes, and user service is an interface which is provided by Google App Engine API. So, and then we have to create a doGet method, which is over here. So I will just, instead of wasting time over here, I'll pick up the code from my data files from faculty. Okay. So what I have to do over here is, I have to put in these import statements, and in this doGet method, instead of these two lines which are there, I need to add these lines. So I'll just add it and then explain what it is. Okay, what does this code do? Here I have got a user service object which says get user service method from user service factory, and it says get current user. By this method is being initialized using this variable user. Here we are just setting up a normal HTML page, set content type text HTML, integrated user with Google account, integrating with Google user account. So if this user is not equal to null, that means here get current user has got some valid credentials. So it go over here and say welcome and the name of the user, and it will display a logout URL. It will display a logout URL. Else it will display please login, and login will have underline under it and will say create login URL request.getRequest URI. So this is a simple example of using Google's authentication. Let me just save and execute this. save this and run it on local system. So it's running on 8888. So let's click on login demo. This is coming over here. So let's click on login demo. Over here it says please log in. There is a link which is here. Please log in. So when I click over here, it says not logged in, and a kind of a dialog box is coming. So I click login, and it says welcome test example.com, and I can say log out, and it will go back to login. Currently, this is locally happening, deployed locally. Let's deploy it on the Google App Engine. Here in this App Engine Web XML, this has to match with the app ID where we have to upload, which is it's matching. So this is the one. Now let's deploy it on Google App Engine. Run Google deploy to App Engine. So we are talking about authentication over here, and we should see, we have seen this test.example.com. Now we are deploying it on Google App Engine, and it's uploading the files, and here is the login.demo. It says please log in, and I click on this login button. It says I see I've already logged in my Google. In this Chrome, I've already logged in, so it's picked up my name, NITGAE3, and that's why it's able to say this. If I click log out, so it comes back to my login page. Now since I logged out, now it's asking me to log in and asking me for enter my password. So it's come back to this welcome NITGAE3. So this is a very simple authentication example where we are using classes provided by Google to authenticate using the Gmail account or Google account. So instead of writing my own code for authentication, I can use the predefined functions of Google to authenticate the user. That's another advantage of doing it. Okay, so this was a small example. Now we'll come back to our slides. So this is what I just showed you, and this is what is happening when I say click on login. Locally it's saying test.example.com, but in the final it's saying the actual name of the person who is logging in. Okay, now we come to the second part, which is authorization. I told you there were two things: authentication and authorization. Now what happened was that everybody started to use this concept of authentication for everything. So there was a security concern. For example, for everything you needed user ID and password. So over here also, when I log in, it's asking me to enter my user ID and password, which is fine for the first time. However, if I want to just give selective permission and I don't want to give my password away, then I will use authorization. So for example, in this figure, one is this person who goes to get his photographs developed. Okay, this guy is going to this photo studio to get his photos developed. So he has uploaded images on some Flickr server. Some server is there where the photographs are there, which have to be printed, and lab assistant has to access the images. Now, what can be done to give the photographs on Flickr, which is a free service to share photographs, to this guy who is at the shop? One thing which can be done is you can give the username and password and say that please go ahead and use it. Second is you can just give the key to that person, that okay, you have the key and you have got authorization for me to access the images which I have uploaded, but I will not give you my password. So that is using the authorization feature of OAuth 2. In this case, what happens is you just give a selective permission to the user. The difference is that you don't give out your password, and in that case there is more security for the user. Now what happens is that the authorization which is going to happen is like an allow button when you have a pop-up coming and you're allowing. So when you click allow, that means you're authorizing the other person to access the files. Similar to what I have done. For example, on my drive, I have shared data files for faculty. Now if I want all of you to access data file for faculty, one thing is I can give you all my username and password, and you can all log in using my username and password to my drive folder, and you will be able to get the files. That is not how I have done it. I have asked you to give me your username, passwords. Sorry, not password, just usernames. and I have given you authorization to access the resources. So now when you access that resource, you are able to access it using the link I have sent to you. Is this concept or difference between authentication and authorization clear? Authentication requires username and password. Authorization is basically just giving the permission, allowing the permission. So it's like going to a house and the house is probably locked, okay? So you are the owner of that house and you can just have like one key, master key, which can go to all the rooms. You have one master key which you can go to all the rooms, which is your password. However, there are guests which you want to invite to your home, but you don't want to give the access to your home, all the rooms. You just want to give them access to one room, guest room. So you're just giving the guests a separate key for guest room so that they can at least go to your house and stay in that room but not go to other rooms or other areas. So in that case your key is protected and also the other user is also able to access the resources which they are allowed to access. Okay, so that is the difference. So OAuth 2 is an open protocol for token-based authentication and authorization on the internet. It permits users to grant a third-party limited permission to access a web application. It is a simple way to publish and interact with protected data. It has built-in support for desktop application, mobile devices and websites. It is specifically designed to work with HTTP. So when you are using OAuth 2 terminology, there are a couple of roles which are defined. So one is a role of a client, one is a role of a resource server, one is a role of resource owner, and one is a role of authorization server. So these are four key players involved when an OAuth authorization is happening. I mean, it's like a HTTP handshake kind of a thing. So when you are having a normal HTTP interaction, a kind of a signal acknowledgement, etc. happens. Similar to that, there is the client who wants the resources. There is a resource server who will give a particular, who will decide whether you can access that resource or not. Sorry, resource owner will decide whether you can access that resource or not. Resource server will probably give you a token to go to that resource, and authorization server will also give you the authorization to access the server. So we'll see how these four key players interact with each other. In the short while, we'll see that there are these four roles, or let's say you can say these are four people who are trying to make sure that this protocol works for authorization and authentication. So what happens in a normal client-server authentication is client sends the server authentication request and server sends it back saying yes, you are authenticated, and resource owner and client are the same people and they share a secret key. So this is not a very good way of doing the sharing your secret information, because you are sharing, let's say, the password itself with the world. Instead, what we need to do is have some kind of token creation. There are some temporary tokens or some credentials which are created to follow up with this OAuth protocol. So I will see how that works in a minute. So just like if we were to go in a very highly secured building, they would probably put in a kind of a tag on you that you are an authorized person. Similarly, these tokens are generated by these servers and they are given to you so that you can access the resources. So as I was talking about the roles, there was a client role, there is a resource owner, there is an authorization server, and there is a resource server. So this is how it actually happens. So client sends first of all the authorization request to the resource owner, and resource owner then says you are granted the access. Then client sends the authorization again a request to authorization server, which is a request for authorization grant. This is a request which is going from client to the authorization server, and authorization server issues an access token to the client. Let's say this is the person who is owning the resource. He said yes, you are okay to do it, but when the client actually wants to access the resource, he will have to take a token from the authorization server. So authorization server gives the token to the client. Then client takes the token and then accesses the resource server where the resource is located and is able to access the protected resource. Let's say there is a person over here who is the resource owner, and this is the resource which is kept over here. And the client is the person who has to access the resource kept on the resource server. So first of all, client asks the resource owner, please can I access the resource? The resource owner grants the authorization. With this granted authorization, the client goes to an authorization server who issues him a token. So then client takes that token and goes to the actual server which is having the resource. So resource checks the token, say yes, you are the valid person, and that protected resource can then be given to the client. This is the flow of interaction among various role holders in OAuth 2 protocol. So there is a person who is owning the resource, there is a server where resource is kept, there is a client who is trying to access that resource, and there is an authorization server. So first of all, you have asked the resource owner, yes, okay, you can go ahead. But this resource is protected. Let's say these are 3 different offices. Just like in India, a guy has to get work done. First he goes to the actual owner of the resource. So he says, yeah, please go ahead and do it. Then this client actually goes to the authorization server, which is another department, and gets an access token issued. He then shows the access token to the resource server. So resource server sees that access token, he says, yeah, okay, so you are a valid client, take this resource. So that's how this interaction works. I will show you a small demo so that it becomes more clear. So is this diagram clear to everybody? Can you just vote on this diagram? Okay, so this is conceptually it's clear, practically we'll see. So this is how the interaction is happening between the various parties. We'll see shortly how this happens online. I will just show you that. So when we create a program which is using OAuth 2, first of all, the steps to check the authenticity of user is that it obtains the credentials from the Google Developer Console. These credentials then are used to obtain an access token from Google Authorization Server. This access token is sent to an API which checks the token and return back the resource. By checking the token, they return the protected resource. And if this has a lifetime, how long this will be valid, and if required, this is refreshed. Otherwise, it's like your validity of automatically when you log in for a Google account. Sometimes it is valid for 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. You decide. So till how much time your account will remain active or your credential will remain active in Chrome. ये बंद कर दीजिए please. So you can see over here, this is the flow which will be used by the application. I will just show you the actual working. So this is the conceptual part. Now let's look at the practical part of this workflow between different entities. So keep this in mind. I will just try to show you this in a minute. Okay, can you see this site over here? This is site developers.google.com OAuth Playground. Okay, you got this site address. Everybody noted it down. So it is generally a site to experiment. Playground is like your park to play with OAuth protocols. This is, I think, not part of the course, or not. I have not put a demo for this. It's extra information, but it's interesting to know how this OAuth 2 is working. So I'm taking this time to go outside a course a bit. So it says step 1, select and authorize APIs. Select the scope of API you would like to access or input your own OAuth scope below. Then click authorize API button. Okay. So we will use the same example which we had done probably. We had created URL. Some URL shortener was there. Yeah. So URL shortener API was there. So let's authorize this API. So this is asking for my username and password. So I sign in. This is the first step. So it says Google OAuth Playground would like to manage your Google Shot URL. It's asking me for the authorization. So it's like I am the resource owner. It's asking me, can I use your resources? Or I mean, my resource is my URL shortener. I mean, I had put a long URL, I had put a short URL. That is my resource. It's kept somewhere on the server. I am the resource owner. So the client over here is Google Auth 2 Playground. It's saying, please allow me to access it. Please allow me to access your information you have kept on the server, which is the short and the long URL. So I say allow. Okay, so what happens now? So it has done something. Once you got the authorization code from step 1, click the exchange authorization code token. Click the exchange authorization code for token button. You will get a refresh and access token which is required to access OAuth protected resources. So it says I have got an authorization code. This is my authorization code, which is the first step. Okay, let me just go back to the slide. Stop. So authorization code, the request was coming from client, that is the browser, to me. Authorization request. I have granted the request, and the request I have also got an authorization code. I'll go back to this thing. Then it is asking step 2, which is click on exchange authorization code for token. So if I look at it, my diagram again, it says client authorization grant ho chuka hai, that's already done, and then access token has to be taken. So exchange authorization code for token. So over here you see request response happening, and now it has got, it says over here list. Now the construct your HTTP request by specifying URI, HTTP method, header and content type, and request body. Then click the send request button to initiate the HTTP request. So I have got the token. Now I have to go to the resource server and get the resource. So I'd say list possible operations. So these are the possible things which I can do. So I want to see what is there, what is the short and long URL I had saved. It's a protected resource. It's my resource. I have saved it yesterday. I don't want anybody to access it apart from person who I have authorized using OAuth protocol. So I will say, so list the URLs. So this is the HTTP request URI, https www.googleapis.com URL shortener v1 URL history. So this is the request URI. Along with the token, he will go and ask for the information. So now I've already got the token earlier, I've already got the authorization. I'm sending the request, and let's see if I'm able to get the data. So if you remember yesterday, I had saved this URL shortener, one item only. I had saved this Google, there's this long link, edit Europe yahoo.com. You can remember this yesterday's example when I was talking about APIs. I had saved this yesterday, and here is the short URL for that. So this is the protected resource. which I am able to access using the OAuth playground. Okay, so let me recap this again. So there was an authorization request to the resource owner. Authorization grant happened. With authorization grant, I got an access token, and then with the access token I sent another request to the resource servers to get the protected resource. In this case, the client is the web browser or the OAuth 2 playground. However, this could be somebody else also, or some other application also. So we'll see another demo, how this OAuth 2 works. Okay, is this clear? OAuth 2 flow clear? Yes, no? Only one response I've got, I think. Please click plus for me to go ahead with this. Okay. So okay, so now we will continue. Okay, see, the thing is, I will continue with the session. In case you need to drink water or whatever, you can go and drink, and in between, and let it be, and let's not disturb the flow, because the studio time is kind of precious, and I don't want to break too much in between. Anyways, so what I'll do is now there is this small activity which I will use to show you this authentication and authorization happening. In fact, there are 2-3 demos which are in line, which I will use to show you the flow. Okay. Okay, so these are the steps. First of all, this is not an activity, this is just a task that which you should know, that how we get OAuth2 credentials and set a redirect URI for your applications. This I told you yesterday also, but it's a small repetition, but it will be required in applications which have got authentication or something to do with the process asking you to give permissions. So when after you have created a new project, you have to go to this option over here, credentials, and web option is there. In the web option, you need to enter your product name. That is over here in the console. So let's say this is a new project, and in the API credentials, this I've already created for this one. Let's say this other one. Okay, let it be this. New credentials. This OAuth client ID. This option over here, request user consent so that your app can access users' data for APIs like Google Calendar. This is the client ID which we are creating generally. Here we select the web application, give the name, and these are the redirect URLs which are put. Two are there generally put. One is the https://a13-2-blacklist and .fspot.com, and localhost 8080 for local checking. So after you are authorized, there is another link which is called as OAuth2 callback. Whatever is the name of the URL /OAuth2 callback is the link you have to give. This is the path your application that users are redirected to after they have been authenticated with Google. The path will be appended with the authorization code for access. Must have a protocol, cannot contain URL fragment, and cannot be a public IP address. And secondly, we should put http://localhost 8080/AOAuth2 callback. So these are two important entries which must be made when you are creating a client ID. And when you say create, it creates a client ID. This is required in your application. So this is your client. Like your application becomes the client which is asking users for the authorization and authentication. So first of all, once you are authorized to use a particular resource, you'll go back and use the callback method, callback URL to access the resource. So I have created two over here for this application. So wherever the need is there for OAuth2 client ID, in that case remember to create one and use that client ID. One is sufficient. Use this complete client ID in there is a constants dot Java, I think. In that you have to put this ID. So this will be an additional step. Apart from putting in the project ID, in certain applications you will also need to put in the client ID. And in future applications we would be using this. So this is an important task. Remember this. You have to pick up this client ID and go to generally the Maven based applications. For example, this one. And in this one doesn't have no, this one doesn't have anything. Okay, this one maybe having. Yeah, in constant.java, here web client ID, in double quotes, this has to be put. This is going to allow your application to ask the user for permission and continue with the actual working. So web client ID is required, and this is going to come from doing these steps which are mentioned over here. So these steps should be these are like a subroutine, you can say. So wherever you are asked to put web client ID, once again, so wherever you are asked to put in the web client ID, you'll have to follow the steps to create them on the Google App Engine and then put them over here in the application. So this is one sub part. So we can just have a 5-minute stop here and then we'll continue. 5 minutes break. Hi, welcome back after a small break. So we were discussing about authorization and authentication and OAuth 2 protocol. This is a protocol which is not just Google's protocol, it's a common protocol. Here we are using Google servers to authenticate and authorize our requests. So I will just show you another small demo that will help us to understand this protocol a bit better. So we'll do this activity 5.2 now, authorize users to use backend APIs. So in this, what we'll do is, we will create a backend API. So you are signed in to create a backend API using endpoints. In addition, you have to authorize users to API. The API should be based on following guidelines. Create an endpoint function that authorizes users to backend API. An endpoint method should display a greeting message once user is authorized to access the API as shown in the following figure. So in the output, when we have authorized from here, you can see on, then it says hello and the name of the email address of the user. So this is the kind of output we would want to generate initially. So we will do these steps and follow these steps to achieve to this level. Okay, so first of all, we will create a Maven project and deploy and run an API on App Engine. These are the two tasks we have to do. So some of the tasks may feel repetitive, but then it's okay. Let us do it again. Create your application of Google App Engine using Google Developer Console and save your client ID for later use. Refer task 1 in case you don't know how to create an application of Google App Engine. So this I've already created application. These are already created. So let's say I'll use this ID, Hello World ID, Sincere Pen, and then I will keep it. So we'll create a new Maven application, new Maven project. Next, over here, type Google, because we have already created the catalog. If this catalog is not created, refer to previous exercise where we have to create this option to come. Otherwise, you would automatically get the values. So it's saying retrieving archetypes at the bottom of the screen. I can see, so it's picking it up from some web. We have done this. I've skipped these steps because we had already done that. And I get this. I can get the archetypes. Now here we have said select the endpoint skeleton archetype. Endpoint skeleton archetype. Auth demo. The type in artifact ID. In App Engine version, put in 31. Your app ID comes over here, which is this one. You can even put your web client ID over here. So I have a web client ID, I think. Credentials. So this is my web client ID. I had already made it. So using the steps I showed you, I had already made it. So I will just put it. I'm also going beyond this. I think this should work. Web client ID over here and say finish. In this case, the file which will be generated is going to be having a demo. One more thing you can do is you should close the projects which you are no longer using close project option over here, or close unrelated projects, so that it is faster. The Eclipse tend to get slower when more projects are open. So another tip is that when you are working with Eclipse, use this option close unrelated projects to close other projects which are not currently on. So let it be. So now only the project which you are working is on. So yeah, that's great. So the client ID which is over here I had put in has gone into my web client ID over here. Right, very good. Okay, so next demo. So now next I need to create a small API. So what we are doing is we are going to create an API, and only the authorized users are allowed to use that API. Yesterday I said it doesn't matter, the authorization part. Now I'm saying it does matter. Remember I had said execute without authorization, like it didn't matter whether it is authorized or not. Now I'm going to inbuilt into API that only authorized users, people who say authorized, who are authorized, are able to execute that API. Yesterday I said anybody can execute it. There was a link. So here we are adding on security to our API. So now what you do is locate this and create a my Java bean. Demo, create a new file called my bean dot I'll not create, not create a file, but create a class of my Java bean. Create my Java bean Java class in auth demo folder. So using this dialog box over here, I am creating a my Java bean class. Finish. So in my Java bean, I have to create a variable and its getter and setter methods. So I will not take time to do that. I have already got it here. So over here I'm just taking a private string message using a get message and a set message, two functions, plus two constructors are there. One is a 0 parameter and one is 1 parameter constructor. This is what I am putting it over here. So it's a normal Java code. So I take a small string, a variable message, and that message I am passing to get and set message functions, and also the constructor 0 parameter and 1 parameter constructor. These are must. If you miss out on these constructors, you will have some errors which will your API will not work. Okay, next save this file. And now we go to constant.java. We have already done this. Okay, no, we have not done this part. Okay. There is this line to be added. Public static string API Explorer client ID is equal to and com.google.api server SPI constant API Explorer client.id. You have to add this in constant.java. I'll just explain you why. Here after this web client ID you have to put this. See, generally I would use my web client to access the API. That means my application will be accessing the API. However, I would also want to use the API Explorer, which is underscore a something AH API Explorer. That link is there. So I want that API Explorer interface should be able to access this API. That is why this is being added, so that the interface has permission to access this API. So this is an important step again. Assign your web application client ID, which is already done. This is the client ID which has been set. Save the constant.java file, so save it. And now we come to the endpoint Java. So he's renaming it. Your first Java API to endpoint class. Rename this. This refactor option is available over here. You can say rename your first API to endpoint class.java. Endpoint class. So I've just renamed it to endpoint class. And in that I have to put in the code which we discussed yesterday for creating a simple hello. It was just returning hello and the name. This was a simple this thing. I'll just show you what code has to be put in this. Okay, in this, first of all, we put in API method, API namespace, and authorize exception and user. All these are import statements, followed by this annotation API. This is what we had discussed yesterday. API annotation saying that this is the start of the API. This is the name of the API. This is the version of the API. This is the namespace declaration which says auth demo API. Owner name is authdemoapi.example.com. Path package scope. Scope is using constant.email scope. This is going to say that if you give the email ID, it's going to allow it to use it. And client IDs over here are two. One is web client ID, who can access the API, which I've given, and also API Explorer client ID. That means that AH_Explorer, all that will be able to access the this API. Then I start a class called endpoint class. Then there's an annotation called API method, @API method. This is again an annotation which says that this method which is there is, and this is going to be the API method. Auth greeting is the name, path is auth greeting, and over here, this is a very important change which we are doing. Yesterday we had just given this much. My Java Bean response is equal to new my Java Bean hello or hi user get email to thing. So it was getting the user ID and saying hi Peter or something. Now what we have done is we have added these two lines. If user is equal to null, that means he is not logged in, it will throw an exception, authorization required. So we are checking for the authorization over here. So I will take the content of this function from here and place it over here. Here these three lines are important. If user is equal to null, throw some exception. Now save this file. It says, and now let's run this. I'm using that server. I think remote desktop server has ended. I'm using that server. My remote desktop. Okay, sorry for the interruption. My session got expired. So we were on to. We have created a code. Now we have to deploy it and check. Okay, let's say deploy this. Run as given build. to deploy. Okay, I've got some errors. I think I have not put my ID correctly somewhere. App ID is missing. Wonder why. So somehow it was missing. Let me check my client ID is there. Okay, now let's try again. Now it's uploading. So this is done. Now we have to go to your app ID appspot.com _ AH API Explorer. So my ID is sincere pen 19470 appspot AH/API Explorer. So this is there, auth greeting is there. Okay. Now when I click on execute, I'll get an error message, authorization required in response object as shown in following figure. Why it will come is because right now authorized request using OAuth 2 is off, and I click on, let's say, execute without OAuth. There was an error which says this method requires you to be authenticated. You may need to activate the toggle above to authorize your request using OAuth 2 credentials. See, I clicked on execute without OAuth right now. The book says at that point of time we only had an execute button, but I have got execute without OAuth link over here. When I click on this, it says this method requires you to be authenticated. You may need to be active. You may need to activate the toggle above to authorize your request. And over here it says authorization required. This is the message which we had put over there in the throw. So it has generated an exception. It's checking the user currently is null, and this message is coming, authorization is required. So what we will do is authorize and execute. Ensure that the checkbox over here is set, because we have set email scope, and say authorize and execute. Says pop-up blocked. Remember this, you may also get this kind of issues. Pop-up is blocked. Following pop-up was blocked. So say always allow pop-ups using API Explorer, and say finish. Click again, authorize and execute. Since I am already logged in, it didn't ask me for username password, and it has now given hello nitgae3gmail.com. Can you see this message now? Right now this API is not an open API anymore. It is checking for username and password of who is connecting to it, and then it is allowing it to execute it. So continuing from here, we'll build upon this activity, and this is the output you get. Like right now, this is hello and the email address which person is logged in. Now we will create a front end which will talk to the backend and show the authentication happening. Okay. So till now we have done a backend. Yesterday also we had done like that. We had created a string, two strings as being concatenated. We saw it in backend how it worked. Then we created a web client for front end for that, and saw good morning or good evening or good afternoon for that. Now we'll see how this authorization is done through a web browser from the front end, how this OAuth 2 is going to be used. Creating OAuth 2 web client ID. Okay. So it says open the existing project which we are already working on. So we have opened that, it's already open, and it says create an index file in web app folder. So we will go to web app folder. Here we click and say new file index.html. So this file is created. So now in this HTML text has to be added. I will show you what HTML text has to be added. This is the text which is to be added. It's a simple HTML which has got web client app as title. Then we are loading two JavaScripts. One is this script file.js and one is a predefined Google JavaScript, which is apis.google.com JavaScript client.js onload equal to init. So these two JavaScripts are being loaded in this HTML file, and then we are displaying an output, a div tag which has got output log ID, and over here it says href JavaScript void equal to ID equal to sign in button, sign in. So if a person is not signed in, it will give a hyperlink sign in. And once the person signs in, then we will use this div tag over here, output log, to display his user ID and a logout button or a logout link. So that is why this ID is, div has got an ID over here, output log. So this is my index files content, which I pasted over here. Next, I have to create a script file.js, because index file is loading this over here, script file.js. So again in web app folder over here, I have to create new file, script file.js. Please ensure that this name matches which is given in the index file, script file.js. Finish. So in this JavaScript there is going to be interesting code to put. So in this JavaScript, this is what is to be added. Firstly, we'll add in the client ID, then we'll add in a scope variable, and signed in equal to false, a variable. Now in this, what is happening, in this function what is happening is, if the user is authenticated, that means the user is already signed in, then a sign out button will be displayed. So document by get element ID sign in button inner HTML sign out will be coming to a person who is already logged in, and along with it the user's email address will be displayed. Then there is this sign in function which is defining a scope over here, and it has an immediate mode. Mode is mentioned over here. Now this immediate mode means that if I had already logged in earlier, then it will not ask for user ID password again, it will automatically log in. But if I'm not logged in, then only it will ask me for user ID password. So this is setting over here the immediate mode for sign in. Then there is a function which is authenticating that if I'm not signed in, then sign in is false, else I am then it is calling the sign in function with false and user auth parameters, else sign in is false, and it will display the message sign in, hyperlink sign in. It will also show me a greeting over here, the user ID, the Gmail ID of the user. Then it is also over here, this is just calling the, this one is calling the hello, the API which has been created, auth greeting, demo API, capi.client.auth demo auth greeting. This is my calling the function, the API function. And over here, this one will enable the sign in button. This init is the initial function which is called when you call the script. It sets the root path of the script, and in APIs to load over here, it will check if there are more APIs to load. It will be it's called minus APIs to load. So currently it says APIs to load equal to 2. So one API is gapi.client.load auth demo 1 v1 callback root. Second is gapi.client.load OAuth2 v2 callback. So this is what OAuth2 API is being called over here to be initialized. Gapi.client.load OAuth2 is calling the function to load this API. Yeah, in init method, I have got API to load variable which will enable the buttons only when all the APIs are loaded. Otherwise, the sign in button or the login button will not get enabled. So it will only enable this button when APIs are loaded. So how many APIs are to be loaded? It has to load two APIs. One is gapi.client.load using this auth demo API which I have created, and then there is a gapi.client.load OAuth2. This is Google created OAuth2 APIs. This is not my created. So I need to copy all this and put it into a JavaScript. Over here, remember this client ID is not correct. This client ID has to be your own client ID, which is you have to be careful in pasting it. If there is an extra space or something, then an error will come. So let's hope everything is now set, and let's run this. Yeah, so JS file, update the client ID. So all this code I have already added, and I'm running this. So let me run this in browser, localhost 8080. I get a small sign in button over here, and since I'm okay, sign out, sign in. So this is what is the functionality of the sign out, sign in locally. In the previous application, I had already signed in as example.com, so it's taking example.com, and it is now running on localhost 8080. Now I'll deploy it on the web server. Stop this using this red button. We are going step by step. Firstly, we had yesterday created API. Now we are integrating a login functionality with that API. However, today when I was creating, there were some steps of yesterday which was repeated, which was of how to create an API. So people who had missed some part of it yesterday, there was some recap happening here. We were creating API. Only thing yesterday there was no repetition. Sorry, no authentication in that. So I'm just waiting for it to deploy out to the App Engine. Hopefully I've given everything correct. Let's see. So in previous tasks we just saw in the background in the backend API, how we can check authentication. Now we are checking in the front end. In the index.html and JavaScript, we're checking whether the authentication is happening or not. So till it deploys, so I will get a sign in kind of a button when I run this. When I click on sign in, it will ask me for sign in credential if I'm not already signed in. So in case the request for permission Google window appears, click on accept and provide permission to access the application. And we should get something like this. Hello and the name, email ID. People who are checking check, it's just a 2 KB of data being sent over here. This I want to bring to your notice that it is doing a lot of compression and things like that, and then only sending those files which have to be uploaded. And so the network traffic shouldn't be too high when you are actually doing this compilation and uploads. So let's run this application online and see what is happening. What is my app ID? This is my app ID. HTTPS. Remember to give HTTPS because we are doing it using OAuth. So when I press this link, I get a sign in button. Click on OK, sign in. Change this to sign out. Say, yeah, here, hello, NITJ3 sign out. So if I click sign out, now I've signed out. Now if I say sign in, it should, I think I will just close all the other windows and then try this. What it is doing is it's already cached my settings. So let me clear my cache first. So I will delete everything. Now let me sign in. So now when I'm signing in, because the password was already cached, it was not asking for this. Now it is asking me for authentication. So when I click on this, it'll ask me for my username password. This one doesn't seem to be working now. Surprisingly, it should actually go ahead. Maybe I should try once more. Anyways, this is actually integrating with the JavaScript. Maybe there's something with the JavaScript. Okay, forget it. Uh, Now let's look at another example of authentication, which will be, I'll be picking this one up. We will take two numbers, we will add these two numbers, and only authorized users will be able to do this computation. That is exercise. I will use an existing, I'll just show you an existing solution. And it may be that I get stuck somewhere, so bear with me when I'm doing this. So I'm going to show you an example of a exercise, not an activity now. See, the steps which I'm doing, you can also follow to import an existing project and see how we can import a project and run it and see. You think of it as one example where I am taking from data file from faculty a existing solution, and I'm going to run this. This is a solution for an exercise where I am taking two numbers and I'm adding those two numbers, and only authorized users can do this task. So for people who have come in late, I think there are some of you, and you didn't tell me in the morning. I hope you are able to connect to the App Engine with their Hello World application, and you have sent me a Gmail message using your Gmail account, so that I can share my data files of faculty, this folder which I am using. So that so now you just see how this folder has to be utilized. So in case I give a solution like this, this is a solution because all the files are already present in this, which are required for this solution. So how to utilize it? So close the previous projects, import, select import existing Maven project, say next, select the point where the file pom.xml is present for the Maven projects, press enter. This kind of tick mark will come. Next, if this kind of an error message comes, ignore this and click OK, finish. This is because of some version conflict within the Java, nothing to do with the program. So an endpoint demo project is now imported over here. In this, a couple of changes is required to be done. First of all, you go and change the application ID. In the file App Engine web.xml, change this to change it to the place where you want to deploy it. Let's say I want to deploy it here only. Next, go to constants.java and change this client ID. With the client ID which has been created already in this I created it earlier on for another task. Right. And also go to this script file and change the client ID parameter here. Right. So now save this, save all the files. Check whether the content of these files are fine. And now let's deploy this. App Engine pull an update. or this will put it on the server. Stop. First, let's do it locally. Dev server. Oh, one more change, important change. Stop this. Otherwise, it will start downloading SDK for 1.9.18. Stop. Go to pom.xml and open this as a normal text file and find 1.9.18, 1.9.31. Save. Run as Maven build dev server. Okay, so I get a localhost 8080. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. This is what this application will do. So there is a sign in button over here, and there is a client application, and the compute button is deactivated. So when you click on the sign in button, then only this compute button will get activated and the numbers can be computed. That means authorized users can only do this calculation or use this form. So click on the sign in button. Somehow this seems to have gone into a problematic state. I will clear my cache first. Some problem. Settings. Set. Now let's try this. Okay, better. Ttt Google App Engine 3. Okay, great. So you just saw that my cache had some kind of cookie or something was blocking it. Last example also, that was the reason, I think. So now you can see I've just now logged in, and now my compute button has got activated, and I click on compute and it says the sum is 5. So this is an example of showing that how we can use the Google's OAuth feature to authenticate and allow the application to work. So I can sign out, and now I can sign in again. This time it did not ask me for username password, but it got this compute button activated, and this is because of that there was this in the script I have scope as immediate. This mode, immediate mode, is there, due to which when I say sign in and I'm already signed in and it is there in the cache, it picks it up and let's continue from there. So this is deployed on local server. Let me deploy it onto the web server. Stop this using this red button, terminate, right click, run as Maven build app engine update. By the way, this 2 plus 5, what is happening is this data is going to the server is returning it back, and then it is doing the calculation 2 plus 5, and only when the user is signed in. So it is also using the APIs, and the code is there in it. I can show it once we'll run it, and I'll show it to you how this 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 3 equal to 5 is happening. So till the time it does, let me, okay, it started. See, the solution files are there, but they will not work directly. You will have to change the client ID, your project ID, and then only they will work. So you have to be careful while using the solution files. Just importing it, they will not run. You'll also have to probably change their API which it is using is 18, make it to 31. So these small changes you have to do. Then your this thing will start working. The solutions given in the data files to faculty will start working. Otherwise, you will get some kind of weird errors, uh, for which then again you have to troubleshoot. Taking its time to compile. I'll just come back to this. So let me see my slides what is there. So we were discussing about, in fact we have done two things. One is using user service factory and user service. We saw how we can check the login, and the second was using OAuth 2.0. So access control is a process in which users are granted access and certain privileges to the system. Authentication is a process of identifying an individual based on username and password. It's slightly different than authorization, which is a process used to verify that the individual who has requested or initiated an action has the right to do so. The user service factory is a factory class that is used to create an instance of the user service interface. The user service interface provides information which is useful for forcing a user to log in or out. The user class represents a specific user represented by the combination of an email address and a specific Google Apps domain. Auth 2.0 is an open protocol for token-based authentication and authorization on Internet. And Auth 2.0 permits users to grant third-party limited permission to access a web application. Auth 2.0 is specifically designed to work with HTTP protocol and protect resources stored on server. The client credentials are used to authenticate the client. Token credentials are used in place of resource owner's username and password. Temporary credentials are used to identify authorization requests, and this has stopped. Compiling is done, so I can show you the output. So it has built successfully and deployed. Now I can go to browser and so this is the application deployed. You can also check. I think somebody already clicked sign in. Oh, it was already, I had already signed in, so it automatically worked. And now compute button is active and sum is calculated. If I sign out, this becomes deactivated. And sign in. This sign in is happening through the OAuth, and it is happening pretty fast, so you don't see all the transactions which are happening in the backend. So is this clear where this concept of sign in, sign out is used? This was an example to explain that. So everybody, was this clear, this demo of sign in and OAuth? Yeah. The question is, what is meant by final memory 23M of 355M? Cleaning up temporary files for module default. This must be something to do with Eclipse. I don't know the answer. It is how you have, it must be something to do with the memory it has used and to compile everything and then come up with the final memory. Because these files are also around this much MB only, 23, 25 MB, 30 MB, could be that. Then after all that compilation, this is what it is. So great. This is integration with the API and authentication which is happening. Next step is a very interesting step, which is of databases. Let me check. I think we have to start with databases. Yeah. So next we come to the next concept, which is using the data. Okay, there is a small slides on forms also. Setting up OAuth 2. So I've already done this, I think, and I've shown you this. So this I've shown you how to do this. I'm just recapping over here with slides that the client ID is generated. So this is the client ID, and you have to give HTTPS the appid.asp.com/OAuth2 callback and localhost 8080 OAuth2 callback in the form. And similarly, in JavaScript origins, you have to give HTTPS the id.appspot.com and localhost 8080. That's how the client ID is created. And to check the authenticity, you need to specify variable user. Yeah, this we have already done. This activity also I have shown you. We saw this activity just now, how to do. Okay, JavaScript libraries are there for OAuth 2, and this also we have done. I've shown you this problem statement where this sign-in was happening. In fact, I went and showed you some more things besides that. So next important topic is on data stores. So maybe we'll take a 5-10 minutes break and then start this fresh topic on databases or data store. What do you say? Yes, 5 minutes break? Just say yes, or we can continue. Okay, you want break? Yes, yes, okay. So 5-10 minutes break. We'll come back at, or maybe you can consider it as lunch break and take 10-15 minutes. 1 o'clock we'll start. 1 o'clock we'll start. Okay, because this is a database is a big thing. So 1 second. Okay, so take this as a small lunch break, whatever. We'll not take half an hour. Take 20 minutes. Should be sufficient. 1 o'clock be back for the next important topic on data store. Okay, done.